Hi there, and welcome to your weekly wrap-up, where we'll be looking back at the events and data which have been affecting the markets this week. On the line with me now to look back on the week's events is market analyst with CMC Markets, Jasper Lawer. Jasper, thanks for joining me. Beginning of the week, we heard that Japan had entered into recession. Now, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has dissolved Parliament ahead of a December election, seeking fresh mandate for economic stimulus. Could you talk us through the initial reaction of the yen from this news and how market reaction has progressed throughout the week?
Yes, so the initial results, firstly for the Nikkei, the Japanese index, was to fall, and also what we saw was a fall in the yen. And so I think what was happening there was just political uncertainty came into the markets. It wasn't expected, the announcement, and so the initial reaction was just really concern over the unknown. But I think when international markets came back in, there was a sort of general consensus that Abe will be re-elected, his mandate will be reaffirmed, and then that paves the path to more stimulus. And so then later in the day, even we saw the yen recover, and the next day the Nikkei was higher.
Staying in the Asia-Pacific region, news today that China has cut rates for the first time in 2 years, occurring just as factory growth has stalled and the property market has remained weak. Would you consider this a positive move, and what kind of impact will these cuts have?
Yeah, I think it's positive from the prospect that the Chinese government are obviously acting on the front foot. The manufacturing data came in just inside expansion territory, and so they're trying to avoid contraction in the manufacturing sector. In terms of markets, it's very much positive for Chinese and Hong Kong equities, especially the housing stocks. It's also positive for commodities, and as a result, positive for the Australian dollar, who exports a lot of their commodities to China. As a result of that, it's not so positive for the US dollar as we're seeing today, and that also feeds into the idea that it's an environment of more stimulus, which is generally good for taking risk, and the US dollar is generally considered a currency that you would go to in times of more uncertainty. So it's both of those factors feeding into a sort of pullback in the US dollar. Longer term, I think what this implies is that the emphasis from the Chinese government has shifted from reform to stimulus. And to my mind, longer term, that could be troubling. There is, or at least there was, a housing market bubble in China, and this just could reflate that bubble, and then reforms will be that much harder down the road.
Finally, let's move over to Frankfurt and Draghi speaking at the European Banking Conference today. He strongly implied that he and his colleagues are preparing a new round of powerful monetary stimulus to jolt the Eurozone economy. Eurodollar fell sharply after the speech, but for investors, what would you say is the main take from Draghi's comments?
Well, so Mr. Draghi has intervened and jawboned in the markets twice this week. On Tuesday, his comments led to a rally in European stocks, but the euro also rallied, just because there were also concerns about the Federal Reserve and the upcoming minutes there. Today, in his latest affirmation that he's going to engage in QE with the ECB, stocks have gone up and then the euro have gone down. So I think that is more to his liking. Mr. Draghi in the past has referred to the ECB policy to date as a success, but the European economy is borderline in recession, so it can't be a success measured by the economy. It can really only be a success as measured by the euro, which we've seen collapse since its highs in the middle of the year. So I think from that perspective, it looks like the policy is to weaken the euro, and that's what's happening. And we're probably going to see more and more of these comments. Whether it eventually leads to quantitative easing remains to be seen. It does seem like it's a difficult obstacle to overcome, that it's still illegal in Germany.
Thanks, Jasper. Great to speak with you. That's all for your weekly wrap-up. Have a good weekend, and see you back here at Dukascopy TV on Monday. See you then.